Hi, my name is Anju, and I'm the founder of Kazivu. Kazivu is a one on one productivity coaching service for teenagers. We work with teens one on one to help them set and accomplish goals on a regular basis. I'm super happy to announce the launch of our podcast called ParenThesis. That's parenthesis in brackets. Why this name? We at Kazivu truly believe that parents are true masters in parenting. Parenting advice is ripe. Parenting experts are everywhere today, but few acknowledge the wisdom that ordinary parents hold from all their experiences interacting and living with their children over the years. So, this podcast is dedicated to such parents. And on this podcast, we hope to interview parents of mostly teenagers, but also other age groups to understand and collect some of this wisdom that they have gained over the years. Okay, so episode one, who do we have on board? We have Lalita today with us. Lalita is a professional with over 20 years of experience. She currently works as a senior manager at Amazon India. But the main reason she's here today is she's the mother of two beautiful children, one of whom is a teenager. She's here to share with us her experiences as a parent of a teenager, all the learnings she's had along the way, and also recall some of the experiences she had while growing up as a teenager. I'm really excited to hear from her. So let's dive in and hope you enjoy the episode as well. Let's get started then. So, hi Lalita, and thank you for taking out the time to be here and talk to me and talk to also other parents who will be hearing this podcast about your experience as a parent of a teenager. What have you learned? Maybe a little bit also about the kind of teenager you were. Right? So, that's the idea, and we can jump right in if you're okay to start too.
Sure. Awesome, Anju, and thank you for having me over. And I will be happy to share my experiences. And as a parent of two children, currently my daughter being a teenager, my son in he's just going to be 10 years this December. So yes, I am a busy mother. So I'm happy to be here, Anju, and let's go and let's see what we
Yeah.
can talk about. Yeah.
Yeah. Two children, you have your hands full. That's a lot of things to keep track of in a single day.
Yeah, it is. It is a lot of things to keep track of, honestly.
Okay, so maybe we can start a little bit with your childhood, right?
Sure.
So I was curious to also learn from you what kind of a teenager were you,
Okay.
from whatever you remember.
Yeah. It's funny that you ask because I'm just reflecting my teenage time. And the earliest teenage time that I can remember is when I was 17 or 18. I don't remember that I have been like the teenager, which we talk about today, for a 12-year, 13-year preteen and that early teen. I remember the proper teenage tantrums or being trying to be independent and require that sense of autonomy where I can make those decisions, and all of that happened only after my second year pre-university, which is after my 17 years, right? Before that, what I can remember is that I have always been a very naughty child. I have been the naughtiest child in my family. And my mom often says that she can write a book and it will be the bestseller of how naughty I was. Yes, I was super naughty. I don't know why, but I used to be very curious. So as simple as, coming back from school and funny things like carving on a soap. I used to carve on a soap. I used to waste, and my mom used to be furious about it. But I just felt like carving something on that. I used to keep carving something on that. And now, if I think about it, I was like, yeah, I think it was fair for my mom to get angry on that. But I was super curious. I was super mischievous. At that time, it was almost termed as I'm adamant. When they say that, something that I don't listen to. Compared to my sibling, my sister is her darling child. She's like when your parents say to step into the house at 6 p.m., she's the first one to be at 5:59. and I'm always 5 minutes late. So I was quite a mischievous and naughty child. And my teenage only started after 17 or 18, as far as I remember. And during my teenage, I was quite independent. I wanted to do things on my own. Since this that you asked, I didn't want to hear from my parents, so I started doing part-time jobs so that I can pay a part of my fees, so that my dad hadn't had to say that, hey, I'm paying your fees, you better study. So I said, it's okay, I'll pay a part of my fees. So I was quite rebellious, if I remember, but that is only after 17 or 18 years. That's when I can remember as a teenage.
Okay. That's quite something, huh, to work at that age, especially in the Indian context.
Yeah.
Children, even once they hit 24, 25 years, many of them don't even start their first job. So for you to start working so early on is quite remarkable.
Yeah, those were the part-time jobs, Sanju. So there were a lot of these marketing agencies. I have done all kind of jobs, and I'll tell you, it has added to my career today. I can proudly look back and say that it is really added to my career. As simple as standing on MG Road, Motor Oil Arcade. Today, many of them don't know, but it used to be an iconic outing place for many in the 90s and 2000s, where I had to fill up, forms for credit cards, right? I was doing that. I was paid by hour, and during Christmas, I was selling Christmas trees on that in a shop, right? And I remember selling a white Christmas tree for 5,000 rupees. That time it was expensive, but I was able to talk to them, be a salesperson, and sell it. That was during my first year of college. But I used to do that. But I have done several these part-time jobs. I think it has added to my career, but yeah, that is something that I did during my 18, 19 years. Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. How did your parents react to your desire to work so that they
Yeah.
can't hold you accountable, saying that, we are
Yeah.
paying for you?
Yeah, to be very honest, initially when I went and started doing this credit card filling job, they were not aware. I used to just go and do it. I was doing that. But later I told them that I'm doing this, and all that my parents said that I have to be in time home. I cannot go to a place that they are not aware of. And I have to let them know what I'm doing. And there was no phone, like there was no mobiles at that point of time to let them know or something. And I was given strict thing that I cannot step out of college to do these things, right? So it used to be usually the Christmas holidays and other things. And I used to keep my parents informed. So I used to go with a couple of my friends too. So they were sort of okay because I used to be along with some other folks. I used to not do it alone and all of that. So I did it for a couple of years. In the beginning, they were not very happy. They were worried about my safety rather than anything else. But later they were sort of convinced, and I also started telling them that I will pay this for my fee. So they were sort of convinced. They said that's okay.
So initially there was some
Yes, yes,
reluctance, and understandable
yes.
because,
Correct. Yeah,
unusual, your safety, all of that. But then they came on board.
that is right. Yes.
Okay. Um, so it's interesting that you said that you can't remember your teenagers before 17. Do you have a sense why that is?
Um, I mean, I do remember my high school and my first year and second year, but it used to be uh, just like how I used to grow up in my middle school. I don't know any different. I studied in a convent school through my primary, middle, and my high school. And it was almost like a family setup, Anju, I must say. Like my teachers knew from middle grade to high grade. I had my younger sister studying there. And during my ninth, 10th, we were heavily focused on seeing how I can do it academically. I was also engaged in theaters, drama, and street plays. I was very, very um, uh, I always wanted to do something in theater. So I was the closest part was street plays and others. So I was doing that. So I really don't remember that as a teenage where there was a major issue. My only thing is that after I finished my second year PUC in the same college, right? The school extended into college as well. It almost looked like a school, but more accountability of studies and a little more, responsibility of making sure that we are taking care of our day-to-day things, taking care of our studies, and getting our clothes in place. No, my mom used to not be engaged. and she wanted me to do everything on my own. So I only remember that as a major part. But as soon as I stepped out of my second year pre-university, and I had to take a bus from Alsur to Jayanagar, which is quite a distance, started
Mm,
meeting a lot of people, started seeing a lot of people from, I was in a pure girls' school, right? And just stepped into a co-education, which was my first year
mm,
degree. So a number of things. I think my teenage began there when I
mm.
started going to the college.
Okay. You were just suddenly stepping into a new, different world.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Um, and what were your parents like? So one, I think you said that generally your personality, it sounds like, was that you were always curious, you were always independent, you always had your own voice and your own opinion of how things should be and how you want to be. And in the context of work, you said that initially they were not very comfortable, but they came on board. But generally, if you were to look back and think of how did your parents parent you,
Yeah.
how
Okay.
would you describe that?
Yeah, sure. So I was not very studious, Sanju. I wanted to clarify that I was
Hmm.
not. I did not have that internal motivation until my high school. For me, it was just that I had to complete it. And to be very honest, my mother played a very important role throughout my childhood to make sure that I'm in path in to study. Right. During my primary grade, she used to write notes for me. I remember that she used to come to the school and she used to ask my classmates that, can you give me the notes? And I used to run away. She used to take from somebody else and she used to write notes for me. I remember that very clearly. Middle school, I was okay. But when I just stepped into my eighth grade, then I had this kind of an internal motivation. I think I identified my strengths, or I thought, okay, I'm good at these subjects and I can do well. I want to do well. I want people to see me that I'm able to achieve something in education as well. So only after my eighth, ninth, 10th, I became competitive, or I had that internal fire to do with something to do with studies. So that's when I would say that I started studying. I was not a studious student at all. Yes, I was independent. I was very curious. I used to participate in a number of things, especially in the performing arts or anything of that. I was very good at. I loved Bharatnatyam. I was not formally trained, but I used to, take part. My best friend, she's a trained classical dancer, and I'm still amazed whenever I look at her and her daughter also being the same. So that being looking at that, so I'm not studious. But how my parents were, they were strict, conservative, middle class parents. And my dad was an ex-serviceman. Then he became an engineer in Bharat Earth Movers Limited, BEML. It was it was a government job. And his primary duty was, of course, to take care of the finance and put the food on the table, right? Like we were here, and my grandparents in my native. So we were a big family. Like they had to take care of them. I can really associate to them their hardship today. And my mom, very smart, very hardworking, and she was always ahead of her time, I would say. She is conservative. She was very, very strict about what clothes we wear, when we were at home, and when to talk to whom. And she had certain rules, but she went ahead and she made sure that she learned Kannada, she learned Hindi. She's from Tamil Nadu, right? She studied there. She was very studious. She's one of the most brilliant student during her time. But she made sure that she learned Kannada and Hindi so that she could teach us. She never sent her sit us out. So she used to learn the translation and taught us. So she's sort of like our inspiration. She was very strict. My parents were very strict. So for us, it was more than rewarding, it was punishment, right? Like I used to fear that I will get into a trouble if I don't do this. I will get into trouble if I don't score well. So to be honest, that's how it was. My father used to, was very engaged when we were younger. But as we grew, my mom was the one who was very, very engaged with me and my sister.
Mm, okay. You say you're two children, you and your sister.
I have a brother too, a younger brother. He was born when I was my 10th, so he's like my almost like my child.
Ah,
But now he's a
okay.
big man. But yeah,
Okay. Okay. Got it.
we have three
Um,
children.
and you're the oldest.
I'm the oldest. Yes.
Okay. It's very interesting because usually, and this is not the case all the time, but usually the older siblings are the ones who are more responsible. They're less rebellious. They're more compliant. But you're
Yeah.
describing the
No,
younger sibling.
I'm the worst in my home. My sister is an angel. Anybody would want her. Yeah.
Okay, great. Um, and the other thing that I thought was very interesting in what you said is, though you were not studious, you were still very driven. You
Yeah.
were doing part-time jobs. You knew what your strengths were. You were engaged in theater, and earlier you reflected that you feel that all of those things are what ultimately contributed to you becoming a successful person today.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
and I think that also kind of challenges this notion that parents have, right? Like if you get A's throughout, then you'll be successful. But there are a lot of other things that go into success also.
Yeah, I agree, Anju. I was an average or sometimes below average. I would say average. And that time the class's strength used to be 50 students. My class had 50 students, right? And I used to score somewhere between 20, okay, a rank among the 20. My sister was a A straight. They can frame her school report, and she's still very, very intelligent and successful in her life. So you know how it was. During my time, comparison was a big thing. We used to be compared. It was a norm,
Yeah.
right? And
You couldn't say
luckily,
anything.
yeah,
You couldn't say anything. You will be
we couldn't.
compared. Yeah.
Yeah, we couldn't say anything, and it was normal. Like it was given. We are not feeling bad about it. It was what it was, right?
Hmm.
But no, we might have felt bad, but we never realized it. That's a different story. But coming back to straight A's and being an average, right? My mom always said that all fingers are not the same. She was very strict. She used to hold me accountable, right?
Hmm.
But she always said all fingers are not the same. They're different and they all have different duties, right? So all of them are important in life. So there is a certain thing that I realized, that education is good. It teaches us a discipline. It teaches us how to do well so that you can achieve something later. It'll put you in a better position to make decisions later in life. That's what I think it does. But developing the other things along with education is far important. And I can tell that, seeing that I was average in my class, and today I'm really doing well for whatever position I was, right? Like whatever education I was given, whatever exposure I had, I'm grateful, and I think I'm placed well. So I think being average is not bad, but being driven and taking learnings from everywhere is very important. That's something that I always thought. Good experiences and bad experiences has led me to a better place.
Yeah. The point is that you learn from whatever life throws at you.
Yeah, that
And
is true.
fantastic. I think I was going through your bio and your journey, also professional journey, also from where you started to now being a senior leader at Amazon. Really inspirational.
Yeah, I took risks, Sanju. It is not so easy. And I had a lot of support. I had support of some key allies at work, but I kept my eyes and ears open, right? Like I asked for help when needed. I learned it hard again, right? I never used to ask for help. I thought I can do it all. I can, like, even when Meenakshi, my first child, was born, I wanted to make sure that I can do everything by myself without asking help. Although my family is extremely supportive, my mom and my sister, my brother, all of them are very, very supportive. But still, I thought it's okay. I shouldn't ask them. I should be able to do this. But later, I learned that it's good to ask for help. You get better help, and you will. It's also good for your children. It's also good for the whole learning thing. The same thing at work as well. I had some good peers, some good leaders, and I also made very conscious decisions. I took some, like, risks, like switching to a night shift when everybody said, this is not needed now. But actually it helped me, and that's why I wanted to say that it is very individual. Like, don't make general decisions. When my son was 1 year, I took up a night shift. I had to switch from one job to another job due to some personal issues at home and other things. So I took a night shift, and when I took the night shift, everyone who were concerned and genuinely concerned said, do not do this because it's going to affect you. And I totally respect it. It did affect me. I'm not saying that it didn't, because I used to not get much sleep. But what it also did during that 2 years, it gave me a good transition from one job to another job, which I always wanted. And my son was just 1 year. So what used to happen is he used to sleep through the night. I used to be at work. And when I was at work, I only focused on work. I was not thinking of 100 things. I was not worried about it. I knew my husband is at home. They'll take care when he's awake. And when he's awake in the morning, I'm back home. And then later I was able to sleep through the day like 6 hours or 7 hours. That is again something that we can talk about, because that I used to not be full some days and some days I were frustrated, but by and large I was able to manage that. So those 2 years, the decisions that I took, which really seemed not norm and it is very risk taking, it helped me. So I would I also learned something from it. But I just want to say that I had to take some risk, and I had to get help. I had to learn and scale from what I was if I had to go to a new role. So I think put together it helped me.
Right. So, and I think what you said is important about, right, as a person, only you can know what is the risk you're taking, what is the bet you're making. And sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. But that learning will be yours. And which is why it's important that you take that decision
Yes.
yourself. Of course, consult with other people like you
Correct. Yes.
likely did, but take that decision. Okay, so you touched on a little bit about your journey as a parent. So maybe we can get into that a little bit. I think my first question there is, were you prepared for what parenting brought forth? What did you think when you were
No.
expecting, and then what happened really?
No, no, Anju, I'm not prepared. I'm still not prepared. I struggle. To be honest, right? I I I always wanted to have children. Like, I love children. And when I had Minu first, like I think all parents, I also had some promises made right in my mind, right? Like the most precious. I want to make sure she's protected. I want to make sure she gets the best in life. And materialistic or, environment or education, whatever is possible. So I have made promises, not the literal promise over her, but the promises that I made, along with my husband. Me and my husband, we have made that promise, and we want to stick by it. And of course, my son as well, Siddharth. There are many times where I feel that, maybe I've not kept the promise, when I'm yelling at her, or when I get too much into conflicts and all of that. And especially when, after they are 11, 12, 13, when they are in that phase, I am, because you also realize it's time to change for ourselves, right? Like I need to change. And sometimes it's not so easy. So I would say that parenting has been a very different journey. I have had a lot of amazing moment. I keep having a lot of amazing moment on a daily basis, and also a lot of conflict. And I feel so inadequate being like, I don't think I'm a great mother. Many times I question myself that, oh, I could have done better. Yes, I was never prepared, Anju. I was always looking forward. I wanted to be a great mother. I hope I am, but I was never prepared.
Okay. I'm sure you're doing a fantastic job. I feel like, I think I told you this last time also, a lot of parents say this, but given how much a parent has to deal with, I think everybody is doing the best they
They
can.
can.
Yeah. Um, so when you say you're not prepared, where would you say the mismatch began? Right?
Hmm.
What were the challenges that you just didn't feel prepared for,
Hmm.
a parent?
Yeah. Um. Okay. Simple things, right? Like you expect, like we are trained and institutionalized on certain things, right? Like um, I don't bother much about keep the way how they keep their room. I am concerned about it. I say keep your books in place, do your things, in time. Make sure you're completed. The mismatch begins when they are not aligning to what you want them to do, right? Like when I say that, okay, this time let's make sure that you are able to go ahead and commit to XYZ, either academic or non-academic, like it may be in sports, or maybe in anything else, or even maybe in our day-to-day job, like come back from school, freshen up, have snacks, play, and then get to tuitions. No, come back from school and just be in a room till late, and then all of a sudden you realize you're already 10 minutes late, then you're rushing to your class. And this is not one day, this happens every other day, and that becomes a problem. And then I'm also that like taking my daughter, she's no more small young baby where she's not able, she knows everything, right? In fact, she knows so well, that she's amazing. She can tell me a lot of, she can give me a lot of advice, in fact. But when she just doesn't come out, just not coming out of the room is another big problem, which I deal with. These are small basic things where the conflict begins, and sometimes it gets extended way too far. right? Like I might pile up a lot of anger and everything comes at a time. Like I don't deal with only one thing. I don't tell her that, hey, you didn't attend your class in time and this is happening often. But in fact, I pull down the whole thing. Like, this is why even in the class, you're not focusing. This is why you're not going out in time. This is why you're not even having a good time in the games. I pile a lot of things, which is very, very unfair. But I have done this knowingly, unknowingly many times, Anju. So I think the conflict begins there also. That firstly expectations, secondly repeat problems. So these are some of the things that I see that happens.
Got it. And did these conflicts start around the time she turned a teenager, or were they always present in small quantities, from what you
It
remember?
was always present in small quantity, to be fair. It was always present in small quantity, but I think it's exaggerated now a little more. And my attitude also have changed. Like I'm not having as much of patience I had when they were younger. And I expect her to be a little more. And sometimes I just let it go. Sometimes I just say it's okay. You be late to your class, you're answerable, right? Like I can't be an that
Hmm.
has happened several times in your coaching class as well. Sometimes I've told her that I have set an alarm and I keep reminding her, you have classes today, you have to attend. And she will go cycling with her friends and she'll come back and she's, Amma, I'm late. And I'm like, you knew it and you were late. Like this things just starts off. And yeah, I think that is one of the biggest thing that I deal with, Anju. The thing that I deal with is that um, I really give a lot of importance for their attitude on how they develop attitude. It's not about the B grades and C grades. Sometimes I say that this is not your potential, you can do 1,000 times better than this. And I do get angry, way more than what it should be. But my reaction is even more worse, or I overreact when it is about their attitude, when it comes to their own things, their time, their goals. And if they are not sticking to it consistently, I think the conflict is a lot more to do with that. And it just started when she was around 12 or 13, or it's become more, and I'm losing patience as well.
Hmm. Yeah. So developmentally, teenagers are at that age where even in the brain structure wise, right? Like they don't
Yeah,
have that logical
yeah,
part. The brain is not developed, right? So it's
correct, yeah,
almost even if they want to use it, they don't have access to the logical tools that we use as adults.
that's
So
right,
they're
yeah,
just a bunch of emotional nerves, and that's what often comes out. I think every time they
yeah.
interact with somebody. Um, so what you said about she being in a room, this is something I hear very commonly, right?
Mhm.
Parents often say that one of the biggest concerns or issues or what they find frustrating is the teenagers goes into a room and doesn't come back, boys or girls, right? They
Yeah,
love being in their room, don't like going out. Even if you want to go out for dinner as a family, they just don't, they're not enthusiastic the way that they used to be perhaps when they were younger, right? Also wanted to get a sense from you. What do you think is going on? Of course, there's a way to explain it neuroscientifically, right? They're more emotional,
mm,
they're not
correct,
logical,
yeah.
peer pressure, all of that. But if you were to share about this as a parent, what do you think is happening with them when they transition from a preteen to a teenager?
Yeah, I think their priorities shift. I
Hmm.
think the way they view the world or what is important to them shift quite a bit, right? Like, for example, right now, she's so happy. Yesterday, she's so happy that she spoke to her friend who was very low and who was unhappy, and she made her happy. Okay, I can see like pure joy. Like she's super happy about it. She was saying that she was not at all happy, but I spoke to her and I did funny faces and I told her how great she is and all of that. And then all of a sudden she's very happy. I'm so happy I did that. And she went on talking about it. So I surely see that, they start seeing things that's beyond house, beyond family, right? And they feel safer or vulnerable or comfortable talking to a certain group and spending time there. So things drift apart a little bit, right?
Hmm.
They want to spend more time outside. What do you want to have them with? And all of that. Luckily, in Meenakshi's case, I have seen that she's quite comfortable coming out with family. She's very excited. She still behaves like a toddler, screaming and running and playing and all of that. She still has some things, and I'm also selfishly want her to retain all of that. I think I sometimes have separation anxiety. because she started sleeping separately. She wants to sleep in her own bedroom. And for a few nights, I couldn't sleep. I used to go and sleep beside her. And she was like, Amma, please, you can go and sleep in your bedroom. So even now, when she is like a little low or something, I'll tell her, hey, Minu, do you want to come and sleep with me? She said, no, I'm fine. I'm all right. So yeah, I think what they do is, in my understanding, they develop different interests. They see world beyond what is there. Their priority really changes from what it is, and so much so to that sometimes they get drifted away from what is actually they're supposed to do. Right, like all of a sudden, I have been intentional about not giving social media exposure to her. Very difficult. In my house, media is timed. We are very old school in that. Me and my husband, we have in some of the things we are very aligned that we don't want TV. TV time is rationed, and laptop they need to have permission to extend time. Every time they want more time, they have to request permission, Meenakshi, and then we have to give them the permission. So it is all rationed and it is where, because that's another area where I see that they can just get drifted away very easily. I know that for a fact when she's on online classes, she chats with somebody else, right? So priorities shift. So all of these things put together, I think takes them away a little bit, and it is just fair for them because they are so curious, they're exploring. We have done the same, but yeah, it's hard sometimes as a parent to be responsible for them and to make sure that they succeed and they don't miss out on this golden period, which I think actually golden period can occur after 40 years also, but still, we as parents are really worried whether this time they will miss out because of high competition and all of those things also, right?
So how
I
do you
don't know if
really
I
set
answered
that
your
down?
question, Anju, but I went
That's
on all
fine.
tangents.
That's fine. That's fine. I think what I gathered from what you said mainly is that once they enter teenage, their priorities shift, right?
Correct. Yes.
And that also is supported by evidence, because when when you're young, say 0 to 3 or 0 to 4, your parents are everything, especially your
Yeah.
mother, right? To
Yes.
an infant, their mother is their world. They, in fact, very very small infants don't even, they're not even able to separate themselves from their mother. They say that there's
Yeah.
no
Yeah.
boundary. They see their mother as part of them. And then I think once they grow up, and especially when they enter teenagers, their peers and their friends, they get into the picture, and sometimes they start giving more weightage to their peers and what their friends think of them more than what their parents
Correct.
think of them.
Exactly. Yes.
So
Exactly.
yeah, that makes sense. And even as a teenager, I'm thinking it must be hard, like
Yeah. Yeah.
I do like my parents, but I also really like my friends. I
Yeah.
want my friends to like me, and it can be quite a tug of war internally also.
True. Yeah. I was just telling her the same. I was telling I'm going to talk to Anju ma'am. It's about how, as a parent and other things. She said, Anju ma'am should interview some teenagers as well to hear the other side of the
Yeah.
story. I said, this is not a debate. We're just sharing. You can also talk about it. She was like, okay.
Yeah. That
Uh,
also happens, like teenagers feel they're
yeah.
not understood.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
how about how I feel? How about
Yeah.
what I'm thinking? Have you ever
Correct. Yeah.
thought about that?
Yeah.
But interesting also, interesting experience, I think, to just
Yeah.
roller
True.
coaster ride.
Yeah, it is a roller coaster ride. It is actually sometimes it's great. I enjoy her that
Mm.
teenage phase also. It's really amazing. And she as a person has retained some of her quirky, funny, silly, and all of that. And she's very happy about that. She being quirky and funny, and she says, "I'm so funny. I'm so." Sometimes I bring out really funny things, and we always have a mommy and a daughter day, like after she finishes her exams or something like that. One day we spend together, like our typical day would be Church Street, Blossoms. She picks up some books, then we go out and eat something. We both like sushi, so we will go have sushi. None of them in my home like it. Like they find it funny. They don't like it, but me and Minu really love it. So we go and have that, and we discuss a lot. And that really, and she understands me, right? Like she can tell me when I'm upset, when am I, and she's one person who will come and ask me, why are you upset? Are you
Mm.
upset with me? I said, no. Okay. Are you upset with Acha? Are you upset with anything else? Because you look upset. But she's the first one to find out. And she's also someone who can give me advice, like, right? Like when I said that, and I generally discuss, like at office, if I don't feel good, if I feel that there's something that's not fair, or that this is what happened to you, then she's saying, yeah, what you did is right. You shouldn't be feeling bad. Anybody would have done it. And I'm like, yeah, right, okay. So she can actually give me some adult advice. She can actually tell me that it's okay to feel this way. So I think some of the up moments are those. Like, I'm very
Mm.
happy that she's able to connect to my emotions and tell me that I'm okay. And in fact, she will tell her dad also, I didn't think you're being fair to her.
Mm.
So likewise, she'll tell that to me as well. But she's able to reason and think like an adult at times and give us advice. So I think those are the times that I feel like, wow, I have some companion at home who can
That's so
help me with
great.
that. Yeah,
Children and teenagers sometimes they really surprise you. You know, they just say
yeah.
these insightful, profound things all of a sudden, and you're just left thinking about it.
Correct. Yeah, yeah. And little things also, right?
That,
Small little things, right? Which maybe the big grand scheme of things we don't see. I will tell you one
mm,
small
so,
story, right? So I won a Door Desk award in Amazon. It's called Door Desk because when Jeff Bezos was starting this up, and they were running out of resources to do all the packing and other things, right? It started as an online bookstore. That was the first idea of Amazon, and they pulled down a door which was from a room because it was not being really used, and they made a desk out of that, and then they sat on that and packed. So that door desk remains in Amazon office to remind us how to use resources, and like repurposing things that surround you. So to this year, I built a program along with the help of everyone, and helped the returning mothers to come back to work and skill up and other things. And I was awarded a DoorDesk award. I have never imagined that I will be awarded such things, but I was very, very happy. So I went to Hyderabad to get this award, and I was coming back and all of that. She made a cute little door desk using cardboards and all of that. I have it on my fridge. And she wrote a card and she made a bouquet. And she always does this, Anju, from her childhood. She'll always make some kind of tea for me when I'm in a meeting. She'll slip in cards for me whenever I am sitting, or she'll put a post-it note for me. Actually, like a mother can do for
mm,
a child, she always does these things, those small little things. So sometimes when I'm really angry and when I'm thinking, I always reflect and think that, oh my God, what would I have done without all these things, right? So she is very thoughtful. So I think sometimes with this big things that is happening as a parent, thinking about the future, thinking about how to gather money so that I can pay best college fees. I should have started it early. I should have been more careful. I should have just started investing when she was born. Like, it's 100 thoughts, right? There are a lot of things that can come out of all these things. Small things that she keeps doing reminds me that no, she's good. She has good basics. She knows how to handle human emotions, which is far important in future, which is required. So I often think of that as in some of the upside of what a child does and how we can reflect upon that when you're angry, especially.
oh, thank you for sharing. My heart is full just listening to it. It sounds
Yeah,
really so
yeah,
sweet and full. All the
yeah,
little things you were saying that she does
yeah,
for
yeah.
you.
Yeah,
Great. Um, okay, you did mention social media, and I do want to touch upon that a little bit because
yeah,
that's a big concern, right?
yeah. It is.
Teenagers going to bed with their screens. They wake up, first thing they do after waking up is see their screen again. On screen social media also, it's just a never ending bottomless machine almost, that just keeps sucking their attention down in great quantities, that after a while it becomes hard for them to focus on anything, forget
Yeah,
studies, even sports, right?
yeah,
They much rather watch football reels. I'm talking about mostly boys, some girls also, football reels, or in case of a lot of girls that I meet, Pinterest, right? They much rather do that than actually create something or actually go out and play football,
yeah.
which is what is more important, right? Which is
Yes,
what will give you those skills. So it does seem like a very threatening
yes,
platform, because if you don't use it well, I'm sure it has advantages, but if you don't use it well, it can really take you to another extreme, where you're
yeah,
not productive, can't engage with people, you don't have emotional skills, all of that. And you said that you and your husband both make sure
yeah.
that time social media time is
We
restricted.
try. Yes, we try. So yeah,
So I just want to ask, what are the limits that you have? What is the
correct. Yeah,
system that you have in place?
yeah. It's a very hard battle, Anju, and it is a way practice, right? It has to start from us. It starts from parents, to be very, very honest. Um, I'm not active on Instagram. I have an account on my daughter name, like I created long back, and it's on my daughter's name. Like, so I have that, but I hardly use it. I use it now because many folks send me some link. And then if I have to look at this link to
You
watch
have to have an
something else,
account.
yeah, I just have to have an account. So I have an account. I have intentionally not posted anything on that because I do not want to become a role model for my children. Honestly, I don't want to do that. I used to have Facebook. I used to be active on it 3 or 4 years ago, and then I'm not active anymore. LinkedIn is my only source of social media connections that I have right now. I think it starts with parents. It's very, very important. Second thing is they understanding it is not an entitlement, it is a privilege. Social media, internet access, a phone, an iPad is not an entitlement. We are not here to provide that to them. That is something that I'm very clear. I always tell them that that is not something in their quota. It is not. They can have that as an entitlement. Like, for example, my son, like you said, right? Football reels. He's actually in football, right? Like I have he has high energy and it's very difficult to contain his high energy. He will jump from the 10 steps before to the ground. Every single time he's just skipped it. He'll keep jumping. He's always high on energy. And we are trying to channelize through the sports or something so that he can expense that energy and feel calmer. So football is something that we are trying to get him in, and he is a great defender. He takes a pride that he's a good defender. He can do that. Sometimes when I say that go outside and play, he would slowly come sneak in when I'm in meeting. I'm usually in a lot of work or in meeting. He will sneak in and take my mobile and he will be watching these reels, football reels or some reels. It has such a negative effect on them that they don't know the time that they expend on that, like 1 hour. I take all opportunity to make him feel extremely guilty. I will pause everything, come back and sit and tell them that how much of time he has wasted, what he has not gathered out of this, and how it's affecting him. Every single time I make sure to bore him with that, I tell him that what is the point of this? You watch this, what happened to it? Did you do anything about it? Did you learn anything about it? So I bore. I don't know whether it's going to be of help or not, but at least he acknowledges that it is useless. The same thing with junk food also. Even when we eat junk food, like I make them feel guilty. I said, well, do you know how much of junk that you have eaten? Do you know what it all carries? Just look at the packet. Just go ahead and read about it. Right. So that's one thing. And I have understood it is a balance, right? I can't keep them out. Like me, my husband, we both have aligned to that. This is not good for them, but how much of time should we give them? Because today people are on internet, people are on, and even for Minakshi, she needs to refer to notes, and there's so many good resources also available on the net which she can refer to, she can spend time on, she can look at blogs and articles and she can read. There's a lot of things that is useful. How do you separate it out of just looking at Pinterest? Because like you mentioned, I don't know why she loves Pinterest. When she's in a
Maybe it
class,
is.
I caught her looking at Pinterest. I'm like, what do you see in Pinterest? Okay. But the thing is, now what I have done is I have told her that if she completes one subject and she's able to write something, writing is something that she doesn't like. She hates writing. This is not a new problem. She's always had problem with writing. If she's able to write something, then I'll give her 15 minutes of time. She has to tell me what she's doing and she's allowed to do it. Like she'll tell, I'm chatting with my friends in Google Hangout. I say, okay, what's the time now? Set an alarm for 15 minutes and I want you to be out. And generally, there is a grace time. I know that the 15 minutes I give her because there is a grace time. She'll come back to me and she'll tell, Amma, I have to speak. This is something very important. It's like very important. I say, okay, 10 more minutes and then you're out. Then after 10 minutes, she has to disconnect it and she will disconnect it. So I think we are trying to manage in those terms, Anju. And my house, there is no separate phone. There is no access iPad. There is nothing. We have intentionally kept everything out. There's no gaming device, PS2, PS5. I don't know what those are, but there is no gaming devices at home. I've not given them access to any online games. My mobile is locked for most. If they have to install an app, they have to get permission. So I have been very intentional in keeping them away. And uh, I'm very, very happy because I have seen some kids, right, in my own circle and my friend circle and others heavily into this social media, and it is causing a lot of problem, which I see. So definitely, I think helping them realize that it is not an entitlement. Parents can't pay and buy an iPad because they need to have an access. Parent will not. I will not buy an iPhone because they don't need a phone. There is an old phone here which is available for phone calls. They can talk to people whom they want, but it is not enabled on internet. If they want internet phones, they have to ask me or my husband. With permission, we'll give them, but that's it. So it's been okay until now. And I've told her that once she completes her 10th and when she enters a college, we'll get her a phone. But yeah, let us see how it goes. Yeah.
Um, no, thanks for sharing. And what I'm also curious to learn from you is sometimes what happens, or what I've heard is, if your friends have access
Yeah.
to social media,
Yeah.
or if your friends have unlimited access to phones and the internet, then that creates issue at home, right? Because then
Correct.
the child will come and be like, she has or he has, I'm the only one who doesn't have. So does that happen at home? If yes, how do you handle that?
Yeah. It has happened once or twice, Anju. To be very honest, it didn't happen many times. Maybe because I'm very clear that I will not do it, even if their friends have it. And I have always told that this whole thing about my friends are able to do, my friends are able to travel, I am not able to go. My friends are able to buy a phone. I'm not, will not be able to do that. We'll be able to do what we are able to do it, and this is all that we have. I have always been very very clear. In fact, I talk to them about the kind of expenses that happens at home. When we go to a restaurant, how much I pay, I want them to know. I will tell both of them that we have spent so much. This could be a salary of this person. They earn this to pay a kid's fees in their house, and today we are able to do this, and we should make sure that we have value for this money and we don't keep repeating this, right? Like I do that quite often, quite intentionally. I keep telling them. So she has come and told that okay, they all have phones are not allowed in school. They've confiscate the phone in their school, and when they're entering, they're supposed to give the phone or deposit it in a place and then go in. So they have all that. And I have told her, then what's the point of having a phone? Why should they have a phone? It doesn't matter. If you want to chat with your friends, you tell me what time you need, I'll give you time, but you don't need a phone. And she's been able to understand, but that has to be a consistent message. If it is not consistent message, if we are giving in and we are saying that yeah, there is an old phone, it's of no use, you can go ahead and use this phone, we will give you an internet access, and then we suddenly say that you're not supposed to be on phone, it doesn't work that way. So I think being intentional has helped me. But there is this peer pressure, right? There is this thing. Instagram is something that I said a no, no, but she has opened an Instagram account, and she never told me that. But it's so funny that I saw some feed on mine stating that somebody has posted something, and then when I went and saw that it was her, then I started following her. They said, I'm going to follow you. I told her that I told you don't open it. She said, no, 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 I'm just going to. So it is filled with my dog, my pet dog's picture over there right now. All you can see is Mr. Handsome is doing this, Mr. Handsome is doing that, and the cookies all over. But I'll tell you, it all begins like that. It's so nice and all of that. But then later it gets into something else, right? They get into something else. But yeah, although I didn't want her to have an Instagram account, here she has an Instagram account and she is chatting on that. But I think what I'm trying to do, or at least I think I am aware, is the time I'm giving her on that. And I have told her who are the people who are listed on that, and I need to know. And she has to protect her account so that not everybody can see her picture. I have spoken to her about what happens in the cyber world, how people can steal identity, how people can really hurt them emotionally and all of that, blackmail them and all of that. I have discussed it there a lot, and I think that might help. But yeah, I think limited and being consistent can help. But it is true, peer pressure is real and it happens.
Yeah, I think like you said, consistency is a really really big
Yeah.
contributor, because
Yeah.
after a while, sometimes as a parent, you may also feel like she's been asking for
Correct.
a while now. Should I not? But then you may end up giving mixed messaging to your child,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
Which can have the opposite impact of what you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's also hard, right? Being consistent will require you to set boundaries in place and keep
Yeah.
reinforcing them, but at the same time you also are a warm parent, you care for your child. So
Yeah.
how do you balance that, setting strong boundaries, being strict,
Yeah.
but also letting your child know that, I'm here for you, I do care for you? How do you balance that out?
Yeah, it's very hard. I don't know whether I do it right, but it's very hard, right? Like sometimes I yell. Uh, uh, actually, in fact, some of my team members, even in my previous organization, have asked me, "How do you have so much of patience, Lalitha?" You can, I said, come and meet me at home. Come and meet me at home. You will not have no patience. Sometimes I'm screaming and yelling. And with Minu also, I have done this. Like I have caught her suddenly, she's in a class and it is so disrespectful that she's opened up something else and she's telling, yeah, yeah, yeah. And she's doing that. And I've caught her and I have yelled, I have reacted. It is of no use. It does not help at all. But what has helped is sitting and having that conversation has really helped. Taking a walk really helps. I have seen that even the worst situation, when there is a hard fight, go out for a walk. Because when you're out for a walk, firstly, I don't lose my cool because I'm more aware of my surroundings. So I am not behaving crazy like yelling. I'm trying to listen to her. Secondly, it also adds in the element of nature, right? Like you're really breathing, you're really pausing, and you're trying to be open. So I am also seeking to understand by asking her, why did you do this, right? Like, why are you on social media? What do you get out of this? And then telling the why behind it, right? Why this is not good, and also sharing stories, right? Like sometimes if there's something that is not gone well or something that is gone well, telling them that this is why they were able to succeed, because they are not stuck to something like this. They are doing real dancing. They're going to a dance class and they're now today she's performing in many things because she's working in that and she's enjoying it. Not looking at YouTube short reels to see how people are performing, it's not going to help, right? And I think constantly telling to it and also we sticking to it, right? Like if I'm telling this and I'm sitting and browsing all the time, which is very addictive, it's extremely addictive, right? Like I have seen myself, somebody would have sent me an Instagram link. It's really funny reel. Then I go to the next reel and it can easily just eat your whole time up. It can
Yeah,
happen to an adult who is like pinned with 100,000 duties. And what about a young teenager?
yeah.
It can happen. So I think the only way to balance it is talk to them about the why part of it, tell them how harmful it can be, model it yourself. Like you don't do it and expect your child to also, follow the same, that they also don't do it. And second thing is that after a conflict, which can happen, right? Like after a conflict, apologize because it can be a problem. And it is a problem mostly with the parent because we don't know how to handle it. There could have been 100 ways to handle it. And yelling happens because we are bigger than them and we are stronger than them. Actually, I'm not stronger than her. She's quite stronger than me. But we are bigger than them and we think we know better than them. And the conflict actually begins like this, right? It is a clear uh, struggle for power. We go ahead and exercise our power over our children and we make sure to put them in place. And then later we feel super guilty. Every parent in the planet would feel guilty. We feel super guilty that, I sometimes I go crying, like it's very bad. But I make sure to sit beside her and tell her that I am super sorry about it. I write a card, I stick it in her cupboard. I tell her that I don't want this to happen between us. And it is important that she understands that it is for her wellness. I don't want her to lose path and I wanted her to have potential. And I shouldn't have reacted that way. And it's not such a big deal that I should react that way. If she's browsing a Pinterest in a class, it's not such a big problem. It is not the right thing to do, but it is not like the hell is fallen loose, right? But sometimes our reaction can be like that. Like they might think like, what has happened? Why is she yelling at me? Like I just opened Pinterest. It's not a crime. Why is she yelling at me for this? Like that's consistently running in her head. But I'm not, I have already attached 10 different things to that and I'm yelling at her. So I think balance to thing is that telling them the why, being consistent, you don't do it. Secondly, is really apologize when there is a conflict. There is no other way we can handle this. And it happens quite often. That's another thing.
Mhm. Okay. So one tip that I heard you say is, which I think is a great tip, is go out and take a walk with your
Yeah,
child. Right? So
yeah,
being in
yeah.
nature helps ground you. You become more aware, so you
Yes,
also stay more regulated with your
yes.
feelings. And I think the second thing I heard you say was ask them why. Right?
Yeah,
What is the reason that they
yeah.
feel so attracted to something, whether it's social media or whatever is the topic of conflict. And then make them aware, educate them about what do you
Correct,
understand as the threats, and set those boundaries in place.
correct.
Uh,
Yeah.
and if at all you lose temper or you feel like you got dysregulated in that process, apologize.
Yes.
I can also see where Meenakshi got her card making thing from. You said that you also do it.
I think I learned it from her. She's a far more caring
Okay.
child, actually. Yeah, yeah. She's
Okay.
been like that from her young age, Anju. The biggest strength I keep telling her is that she's very, very loving, and she always brings that out. And both of them have told them that intelligence is good, but being humble, kind, and love doesn't have a replacement. Like you have to be that. That is the biggest thing than being intelligent. Because sometimes with this whole thing of every kid has to excel can take away a lot of shine. Because I've gone through that. But lucky for me, I have never been jealous. Okay, lucky for me. Else, like my sister is brilliant. If at all I was jealous, I wouldn't have been able to. I always thought that yes, she's so brilliant. That's end of it. Okay, I was not jealous at that. And if somebody comes and they used to come and ask me, "You both are sisters?" Okay, I said, "Nah, she is my sister. She's younger than me." But yeah, I think she has been, and I think all children have that. And I've seen some parents so beautifully take their kids' strength and highlight it for them because it's so easy to get lost in this crazy world because it's moving very fast and it's never enough. Even for an adult, it is never enough. We are always left behind with thousand things happening around us.
Yeah, yeah. No, for sure. And I think this also goes back to what you were sharing, I think, right at the beginning about you can't raise a child all by yourself. You need support, and it's okay to ask for support, right?
Yes.
And
Yeah,
because
like I can give you an example, right? Like I reached out to you some time ago, right? The reason why I reached out, I spoke to my friend, Anu, I can mention her name. She's a good friend. So I asked her that, hey, you know what? I want to make sure that I'm able to have someone who can guide and speak to her, who can help her. At that point of time, goals was not in my mind, right? Like after I spoke to you, after I understood Karibu and other things only, right? So I said that I need to have someone who can be a companion, who will be able to help and understand in the positive terms. Be like someone who can listen more than talk. Okay? Because parents can talk a lot because of the experience and thing that we have. We can keep going on talking more than listening. And that is where I reached out, and you have been coaching her, and she looks forward to your class, right? Like, and I think sometimes you have a lot of patience. I generally don't want to listen to conversation. I walk around or something, and she's going on talking and talking. I'm like, oh my God. I roll my eyes and like, my God, Anju's got a lot of patience. And that is exactly right. Like you cannot do it alone. And it's not fair to do it alone.
yeah,
You need to have trusted people. You need to ask for help. You need to go for things that, and I think it's an investment done in the right way. Like now, right now, I'm trying to explore to see career counseling for her. Right? Why career counseling for her may not be so useful at this point of time. All of that are questions that comes. It can be a little, you need to shell out some money, you need to spend some money on that. But my thought, sometimes some what I think, it's some things are very clear for me when 100 things are around it. One thing, right? I want her to build something that she can look forward to. Today you ask most of the teenager, what do you want to do? I don't know. I've not thought about it. Fair enough, because there are 10,000 things. Earlier during my time, 10th, I want to get into science. I want to become doctor engineer. Okay, I'm not so good, so I want to get into the commerce. So I'll get into banking. All right. I don't want to do much of studies. I want to do into arts. I'll take journalism. I'll take home science. They were clear. Honestly, it provides some kind of solace to your mind to do that. Okay? But today's world is not like that. We see that children are excelling academically. They're taking up fashion designing,
yeah,
excelling in science, and they take up statistics. It's really amazing how kids are able to do all of that. So when I talk to people, children, and I generally ask like typical aunties who ask, okay, how are you doing? What do you want to do? And they say, I don't know, auntie. I'm so disappointed. Why doesn't she know this? So same thing happens with Minu also. She keeps saying because she wanted to be a veterinarian. She said she wanted to be a veterinarian, and we put her during summer in a veterinary clinic. We requested the doctor, and she went to a veterinary clinic for a good 45 days. She in fact fainted once, and they called us to pick her up from there because she saw a surgery for a cat, and she just fainted. She couldn't see that anymore. And they called and they said that, come and pick her up and go. Then she came. Then after 1 week, she didn't go. Then she said, no, I'm going back. I'll go and see. And then after she saw, she said, maybe I will not be a veterinarian. So I told her that no, it doesn't stop with this, right? Like you just saw a clinic, but then it has a larger part to it. So don't make a decision. This is just your exposure, right? So the reason why I want to do these things, which some of us may think we did not do it for ourselves. Why do you need a career counseling? I want to do it for her because she will have something to look forward to. She may identify her strengths and feel happy about it. I think that's something important that we need to find strengths, and we also need to be uh, at some kind of comfort that they have something to work towards. Yeah.
No, that's fantastic that you're doing this, because what long term goals also give you is, a like you said, something to look forward to,
Yeah.
right? What can I now do daily or weekly or monthly that can add up to whoever I want to become,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
And I think the other thing it does is, when you introduce this idea of figuring out what I want to do in life early on, it gives them more chances to fail, right?
Yeah.
Which is also important. You will end up failing the first few times.
Yeah. Yeah.
Continue to learn how to succeed, how to do things, all of that. So it's great that you as a parent are being very deliberate about, let me expose her to these different things, let me get her thinking about all of this early on.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. So I have a question for you since you brought this up, right?
oh,
So kids try a lot of things and they may not succeed or they may not complete. In my case, right? They might they she's amazing. She tries a lot of things and she has a unique ability. Like she can put terrariums together. It's really beautiful. She has put big terrariums and she has kept it. And in fact, I told her that she should start a terrarium store online, and it is very nice. She has this knack of doing these things. She has tried her hands in knitting, painting, and all of that. So, but sometimes they don't continue to do that. They don't do it, right? Like, how do parents handle this? How do we handle this positively instead of
hmm.
negatively, and not pulling them down? Because I think I have negatively handled it and I have not done a good job doing that. How do you think parents should handle this when they take up something and they don't bother to complete it? What
Hmm.
should we do?
Yeah, so I think one, like you were talking about in the context of social media, right? Understanding why they want to give up may be important, right?
Hmm.
Usually, one very common pattern is kids want to give up as soon as something gets difficult, right? Now, whether it's guitar, whether it's knitting, whatever it is, initially they might take it up because they're interested in it, or somebody else is doing it and they feel it's cool, whatever may be the reason. They may pick it up because there's some motivation, but no matter how motivated you are and how interested you are, at some point it will get difficult. Whether it's
Hmm.
guitar, it will start getting into difficult chords or lessons. Whether it's knitting, I don't know knitting too much, but
Hmm.
difficult stitches,
Hmm.
right? So
Hmm.
that is the point when it stops becoming fun, right? Because now you have to put your brain to it and emerge
Hmm.
from the other side, right? But that's
Hmm.
also where mastery lies. Uh,
Right.
so that is the most common reason. Sometimes it's also possible that it's just boring for them, right? It's not about difficulty. It's they realize that this is not my thing, right? I don't enjoy it. This is not what I thought it will be. I thought it'll feel like this, but I'm not feeling that.
Hmm.
So if it's the second case, that's understandable, right? But I think over there, what may be important is, like you did for the veterinary thing, getting them to commit to a minimum time beforehand itself, right? Suppose you want
Hmm.
to take knitting up, uh,
Hmm.
how long do you think you want
Hmm.
to try this for, right? Say
Hmm.
45 days or 60 days or
Hmm.
30 days. And then, of course, getting them to commit to that much time, right?
Hmm.
And then holding them accountable to that consistently. You said you will
Right.
do this for 30 days and then make a decision. Now, on day 10, you can't just get up and be like, no, I don't want to do this anymore. Right?
Yeah.
You have to honor your commitment. And of course, there'll be
Hmm.
challenges there. They'll be like, no, I don't want to do it. I've decided that this. But
Hmm.
that's also, I think, it requires parenting or coaching skill, right?
Hmm.
Getting them to
Hmm.
understand that you got to honor your commitment, right? You've committed to
Hmm.
this, and my experience is teenagers get it, as long as they're not in that defensive mode. Once they get
Hmm.
emotional, then everything goes out of the window. But if
Yeah.
they are calm and they're able to understand, yeah, it's true, I committed to it, let me at least give it a shot for 30 days. uh,
Right.
so that's one thing that's coming to my mind. And if it's the other thing, which is, if it's difficult for them to do it, helping them understand that anything in life will get difficult, right? Even if you want to pick football for a career, right? If you want to reach the top and you want to get into a national team or international team, there'll be points where football is going to not be fun, right? It's
Yeah.
going to
Yeah.
be
Correct.
really excruciating in terms of
Yeah.
practice and all of that. So I think that awareness also sometimes children lack, which is, no matter how fun the thing is, when you start with it, at some point it's going to get difficult, right? And if you want to be successful in life, you have to stick with it.
Correct. Yeah.
So that's how
Yes.
I would approach it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
That,
great advice. Yeah. Yeah. I think being aware of this and handling it with that awareness and not jumping to reaction, right? Like that is something biggest thing that we all can do. I do it often. I keep telling myself I shouldn't do it, is reacting instead of pausing, seeking to understand, and then reacting and telling that I'm disappointed in you. But now I have learned this word disappointment actually helps. Like I sit and I ask, okay, I like my son was recording something. I said, why did he record something? Like it is not right to record something. So I asked, what do you think would have happened if somebody would have walked into the room? What do you think would have happened? This I said, oh, I didn't think about it. I said, I'm very sad. I'm disappointed. They're like, okay, Amma, I won't do that again. I understand that. So I have understood that instead of getting all hyper and saying, oh my God, why did you do this? This is not something a normal person should be doing. That definitely does not help the situation, does not help the person, does not help me, but rather calm and give them an opportunity to hear because they really tell something which you don't know. Like I asked him, were you record? He said, I thought there's something spooky that's happening here. So I was just trying to record this, please. I said, oh,
yeah.
okay. So he was thinking of something like he's reading some books right now. So maybe he's thinking of something. So his thought was totally different, right? Like we're only thinking of outcome. So I think it's a good advice, Anju, like, to listen to them that why are they stopping? And if it's hard, it's still okay to go ahead and continue and see what the outcome is rather than just leaving. Because leaving it midway if that is a pattern, it creates a comfort. Okay, I'll try. I will leave it. It's
Yeah.
okay. I'll try and leave it. It's okay. That should not be the comfort. They should go ahead and achieve it. And then they should say, I failed at it because I did this. Or I failed at it because it's just not my cup of tea. I will move on from it. But at least that they should do. So, yeah, that's good advice. Thank you, Anju.
Absolutely. Yeah. It shouldn't be because of effort, not
Yeah,
putting in effort that you failed, right?
yeah,
Put in your
correct.
best effort, and then if it doesn't work out, then there's a learning bit.
Correct. Yes.
And as a child, I should also be honest and say I really suffered from this. I would just start things and give up, start things and give up, start things, start one class, give up. And only much later in my life, I realized this that, oh, if you actually stick with it, it usually ends up well only. But sticking
Yeah,
with the thing that is hard to
yeah,
do.
correct. Yeah.
Um, okay, great. So, yeah, we're almost at time. But before we close, I wanted to ask you, for the parents who may be hearing this, who have teenagers in their house, who may be facing very similar challenges to the ones that you're facing, what's one piece of advice or wisdom from your experience that you would like to share with them?
Okay. I don't know wisdom. It is such an ongoing journey. I think my mother is still handling me. So it's one piece of advice is like I mentioned, seek to understand, especially teenagers. It's hard because there will be a lot of things that we are ourselves going on which we don't realize, and it can come as a package when there is a conflict, right? Like, so first thing is pause, seek to understand instead of reacting on your emotions, express on how you're feeling. Second thing, get help, find out what can be possible. If it requires talking to another parent, joining a community, putting them in some kind of classes outside academics to see whether they can get help. And I think those are the things that they can just reach out and talk to them and be intentional, reflect and have compassion. I think it's so important to have compassion because we have gone through the same phase and we have not been perfect, and we cannot expect them to be perfect. So having compassion is important. It doesn't come naturally. We are all compassionate. I'm not telling we are not, but when there is a situation, we can lose our cool and we can really be very different. So I think reminding ourselves, telling that this is not a big deal, this is something that we can handle and help them understand, definitely helps. So yeah,
So, seek to understand, know
yeah,
what's going on, and ask for help when needed,
correct. Yeah,
and be intentional and compassionate,
yeah,
remembering that we also went through this once
correct.
upon a
Yeah,
time.
yes, yes. Those are things which I can think of, Anju. Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much, Lalitha. It's been lovely. I mean, it's been an hour. I would have loved to keep talking to you and picking your brains, on more of your experiences. But we've gotten an hour, and I'll take that. So thank you.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
you coming.
Thank you, Anju. Thank you for giving me this chance for us to discuss. And I have always enjoyed talking to you. So thank you so much. Thank you. Take care.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye. Thank you for watching. If you found value in today's episode or learned something new, do subscribe to the channel and share about ParenThesis with another parent or anybody else who you think may find it valuable. Thanks and see you soon.